one of the most beautiful women in the history of the world. This is how the famous Cleopatra is portrayed in numerous movies. Plutarch, Suetonius, Pianus, Josephus Flavius, Strabo wrote about her. Except that in antiquity they all spoke about Cleopatra with outright dislike. All the matter is that at the end of her life Rome perceived Cleopatra as a threat. So, let's understand. Who was Cleopatra? Whether it is true that she was married to her own brother. Why Rome was afraid of the Egyptian queen. How she really looked. From what died Cleopatra, and whether it is true that every man could spend the night with her, paying for it with his life. Cleopatra became the ruler of Egypt at the age of 18. It was customary in her lineage to call most girls Cleopatra, and she became the 7th ruler by that name. She came from the family of Ptolemy I, the closest associate and commander of the famous Alexander the Great, who after his death founded the Egyptian state. Cleopatra's childhood was spent in Alexandria, which by the I century BC became the second city of the ancient world after Rome, in size, intensity of trade and general importance. It was as if the world of ancient Greece had moved here. In Alexandria in different years lived and created Archimedes, Euclid, astronomers Aristarchus and Ptolemy, philosophers Philo and Plotinus. Here was the greatest cultural center of antiquity, the Museion of Alexandria with its library. The Museion, a piece of ancient Greek culture on the territory of ancient Egypt, was built by order of the founder of the dynasty Ptolemy I, who wanted to create a center of science and education on the model of Athens. The Library of Alexandria at the time of Cleopatra had about 700,000 scrolls. This greatest center of ancient culture disappeared without a trace. Cleopatra visited the Museion from childhood. From her brothers and sisters, she was distinguished by her passion for science. It is known that she knew 7 languages: Greek, Latin, Persian, Hebrew, Egyptian, Arabic and Ethiopian. Few Ptolemies took the trouble to study the language of the ancient Egyptians. She did. She was even familiar with the language of the semi-wild nomadic Berbers. There was a rumor that she boasted of her knowledge of languages. Moreover, at Museion she studied medicine. Biographers write with horror that at these classes opened human bodies. Cleopatra was especially strong in mathematics, which even her enemies noted. It was completely uncharacteristic for a woman of that era. Another unexpected fact: she was married to her own brother. Her father, Ptolemy, left power to two: 18-year-old daughter Cleopatra and her younger brother, 10-year-old Ptolemy. They were to be joined in marriage, and they did enter into a symbolic marriage. In doing so, she took the throne named Theophilopator, meaning goddess who loves her father. Later she changed this name twice. Goddess who loves her brother in joint rule with the first, and then the second brother, and goddess who loves her son. It must be said that although she is glorified in history as a woman, Cleopatra ruled more like a man. So what about the most important myth about Cleopatra's beauty? Judging by lifetime images, the ruler of Egypt was overweight, with an inexpressive face. Coins with her image from Alexandria also do not confirm the legend of her beauty. On them she looks rather ugly: hooked nose, protruding chin, masculine facial features. It seems that she inherited the features of appearance characteristic of the Ptolemaic family. The bust of the queen found by archaeologists, considered to be her authentic image, shows a woman of Oriental type, with a predatory nostril notch, small eyes and elongated face. More recently, the misconception of Cleopatra's beauty was finally debunked by British scientists who identified 11 sculptures previously believed to be images of other women. Historians at the British Museum concluded that Cleopatra, at least toward the end of her 38-year life, was a rather full, stocky woman with bad teeth. She was only 1 meter 52 centimeters tall and her nose was long. According to researchers, Cleopatra's small stature and fullness are due to heredity, because she belonged to a dynasty whose representatives were not particularly attractive. However, it is quite possible that all this was compensated by a great intelligence and charm. Greek historian Plutarch wrote that the external beauty of Cleopatra was not peerless, but she talked with irresistible charm. An expressive appearance did not prevent her from going down in history as one of the most desirable women for men. Her personal charm and sexuality allowed to capture the hearts of even such sophisticated connoisseurs of the fair sex, as Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. It seems that the ruler of Egypt perfectly knew the art of seduction. Contemporaries noted that Cleopatra all breathed voluptuousness. All biographers of Caesar unanimous. Cleopatra made a deep impression on him. During the first meeting he passionately fell in love with her. But what she so stunned him, because we know that the ideal beauty she did not possess. Yes, Caesar was much older. He was 52 years old and she was 21. He was partial to female beauty, but it was hardly just that. The same Plutarch, always ready to speak out, and this time did not show hostility. He wrote that her appearance, combined with a rare convincing speech and a huge charm, squeezed in every word and movement, firmly embedded in the soul. The very sound of her voice caressed and delighted the ear. Not only the enchanting sounds of voice, but also educated and character. All this, apparently, and impressed Caesar. After Caesar's death, Cleopatra experienced another affair that went down in history. This novel began with an attempt by the queen to save the last Hellenistic state, and ended in collapse. The protagonist of the new phase was Mark Antony. He was 40 years old. Cleopatra was 29. Mark Antony fought alongside Caesar for many years in the Gallic campaigns. He was an excellent warrior and commander, known for his purely Roman qualities. He decided everything with a stroke of the sword. Antony came to punish her, and was subdued.